Hey guys, welcome back to Max Motorsports. Today we're digging into an 05 Polaris Edge Touring. So the other day we were driving along the trail and it slowly just died, and then it fired back up again, and after a little bit of cooling down, and then all of a sudden it died again with a crunching noise. So what I'm thinking it is, but we're gonna kind of dig through the machine, find out what the problem is. What I'm thinking is that the oil pump died, so it failed, and the piston side overheated, the pistons overheated, and eventually seized, and the loud crunching there was the final hit of the connecting rod slamming into the crankshaft. So we're gonna dig into it and find out what's wrong with it. Before we get into this video, I'm gonna ask you guys to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to support me, it's all free, so we keep moving along with this channel. Alright, so here we have it, the Polaris Edge Touring here. So we're definitely going to be doing some work on this one. This is probably going to be a few video projects here, so hopefully we can have a couple of videos come out on this one. So I kind of wanted to bring you guys along with the journey, show you guys this problem here, and I have a bad feeling this one's going to need a lot of TLC. But I mean, really, look at the sled. It's in very mint condition, and I would say it's not worth throwing out just because it has a bad problem. Who knows, we may find the problem's not that bad after all. Maybe it's just a couple piston rings. But it's, with a sled this nice, you really don't want to be just chucking this out the window when something like that happens to it. You really want to dig into it, find the problem, or even maybe send it to a dealership. But I really think, though, you shouldn't really ever be throwing out any sled. If it's going to be more money in parts than the sled's even worth, then maybe it's time to say, all right, let me take the good parts off it, put them on eBay, whatever you want to put them, sell them off. You can make a good amount of money that way as long as someone's looking for the parts that you have. Take a lot of money to say this is not worth it, you know, it's gonna have to be a huge problem. But anyway, I thought I'd take you along with the journey, and we're gonna figure out what's wrong with this and hopefully have it fixed and back on the trails again. Like I said, this is probably gonna be a huge, you know, multiple videos I'm gonna be putting out on this sled, so stay tuned. So maybe you can learn something new. In the midst of all this, I may make a video on how to buy parts. So maybe you guys can get your parts for cheaper. We can find some aftermarket parts. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll put that video out there. And that could help you guys, you know, get your parts for cheaper. So that maybe if you do have a sled that you say, no, the parts are going to be too much for, you might be able to find it for cheaper. And you guys can get your sled back on the trail. So yeah, this is my neighbor's sled. And yeah, it's a really nice sled. And I think it's definitely worth it. At this point, you cannot pull this out at all. So I definitely think there's something inside the cylinder, so we're going to check that out. Alright, the first thing we're going to be doing is pulling out the spark plugs. So we're going to start with that, see if they're wet, dry, what the case is with those. Make sure they're the same spark plugs so that they're not mixed up. That can be a big problem. Alright, so this could actually be a pretty big answer, so I'm going to bring these back here and show these to you. Alright, so it's really hard to show, but this spark plug, usually when you take a two-stroke spark plug out, no matter how you've been driving it, it's usually a little bit wet with oil. And this one is not wet at all. In fact, you know what, there's a little bit of like, almost like an ash-looking material on it, and what I'm guessing is that the engine is either seized or something scored in there, because it looks like little shards or bits of the cylinder there, or maybe even the piston. So that's a sign maybe that this could be seized. Alright, so be very cautious here, because you don't want to start ripping your sled to bits, and you don't even know how to put it back together. You don't know much, so be really careful here. So, you know, if it happened like mine did, or my neighbors did, where it happened out on the trail, we had to tow it home, so we unhooked the belt. So basically, the chain case and the belts, it's all disconnected. The chain case is part of the secondary clutch, you know, the other side of the jack shaft there. So basically, it's all disconnected. So if you can disconnect all that, you can kind of get an answer there. So it's super simple to do. Just simply take your belt off, and so that the engine will be separated from the rest. So the clutch is still going to be part of it, and that's pretty much it. So you got the exhaust, you got the whole front end of this, but the whole rear part is all detached, which is great, because when I pulled this out the morning before we left, I was a little bit worried. There's little shards of steel stuck to the magnet under the end of that. So I was worried maybe it could be something in the chain case. And this is the chain case, you know, you got the chain in there and stuff. So I was a little bit worried about that. But since it's all detached from the engine and I still can't pull it, it's got to be something inside the cylinders. Unless it's something with the pull start, but that's very unlikely. And the way we can test that is, come on over to this side and try to spin the clutch. And it's spinning very little and it's super hard. and I see no movement inside the cylinders there by peering into the hole where the spark plugs go, so I see no movement there. So I'm guessing it's something inside my cylinders because the chain case is detached, so I don't think it's part of that. And I still can't pull the pull cord out, and it doesn't feel like a pull cord problem. It really feels like something that's inside the cylinders. You know, it's not easy to pull out. As you can see, I mean, it comes out about that far, and you just can't pull it at all. I mean, to pull the sled before to pull it that. So I really think it's something inside the cylinders, which is probably something bigger, you know, that costs a little more money. It's a little harder to work on. Let's recap that for you. So we took the spark plugs out, and they were very dry. In fact, one was like charred a little bit. So I'm kind of wondering if there was little pieces of the cylinder collected on it. The other thing we did is we took off the belt. So that the track and the chain case was detached, and that's all you have to do is take off the belt. And now we know it's not something inside the chain case. Because when I saw those shards, I was wondering, is there something wrong with this chain case? But I definitely don't think so now. So now we've got this whole engine part pretty much detached from the rest of the sled and the track. So really, it's nothing really in the track. We pulled it home, no weird noises, nothing like that. So we're going to dig into the main part of the engine. This is going to be something big. So with this, you're going to really need the right set of tools. You're going to need a torque wrench. You're going to need the right set of tools. And so if you're not feeling comfortable ripping your engine to pieces, better send it to a dealer. And here's a big tip for when you're ripping apart something this big. Take pictures before you rip into it. So take a few pictures, take pictures of different angles. So if you forget where maybe it's just one nut or bolt, you can go back to those pictures, and if you have it on the screen there, then you can find out where it goes. Super helpful. So take some pictures before you start. All right, so let's talk about why this happened. So what I'm guessing happened is the oil pump died. It stopped working. And so what happens when you don't have oil in the two-stroke engines is the pistons and the cylinder sliding against each other creates a lot of friction, and it just overheats, and it causes the cylinder basically to melt. And so basically it expanded when it got hotter, and it probably seized the whole engine. Either that or maybe the fan failed, and if the fan fails, it's just going to create so much heat there. It's just like if you forget to fill your sled up, your coolant cooled up with coolant. So if you don't have anything cooling that engine down, you know, the oil keeping less friction there, it's just going to overheat and probably seize. So maybe your temperature light went on, you didn't pay much attention to it, and just seized. So as things get hotter, things expand, and when they expand, they're creating more pressure on the sides of the cylinders, and it's keep getting hotter and hotter and hotter until it just, you know, either blows up or, you know, whatever happens to it. So basically, yeah, I either think the oil pump died or the fan died, and basically just created so much heat it ruined the engine. You know, I'm not exactly sure what happened to your sled. You know, the piston rings could have broken, and they could have just scored your cylinder, and you lose pressure down there, and it dies. You know, and then you hear the crunching of it hitting the crankshaft. So I don't know. Go through your sled, do the steps that I told you to, figure out what your problem is. We're gonna have more videos coming up soon, and how to fix this sled. And we're going to be looking into getting into the cylinders and replacing the parts that we need to. And hopefully it's worth it with this sled, because this is a super mint sled on it. I don't even know how many miles, very low miles though on it. So it's super mint sled, and I don't want to see this one go. All right, that's it for the video today. But remember to put your spark plugs back in before you head inside for the night, especially if you're working outside. You do not want water getting in there, even though the whole thing is seized. Who knows what's good, who knows what's bad. You don't need water down there. You don't need debris, so cover that up. Put the spark plugs back in. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel, support me. It's all free. You just have to click down in this corner down here. So make sure you're subscribing. Make sure to not give it a dislike, but give it a thumbs up. Hope it helped you get your sled diagnosed, and hopefully you can be on this trail soon. You know, if you have a problem as bad as mine, might be a few days, might be a few weeks, might be a few years. Hopefully you can get back on the trails. Anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe. Click down this corner. There's a little icon there, and you can subscribe to me. And I want to see happy motorsporting to Max Motorsports.